Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Freedom Radio Hour. I'm your host, DJ Adam Cruz, and I have my fantastic co-host here,
Eddie Nicholas. What up, beautiful people? We're here, 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, with music and news.
That's right. We're here live on Capital Radio. We're the Heartbeat of Sudan, and we're also on the web at dwobmusicradio.com. For Freedom Radio Hour, we're your number one source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. So tonight, we're not only giving you good music, but good news.
That's
so
right.
Check this out. The first order of business tonight is talking about the power of these self-funded, crowd-funded type of platforms. What am I talking about? I'm talking about GoFundMe. I'm talking about Indiegogo and all of the other sites that are similar, where essentially if you're a band or a group or a solo artist, you can potentially look to your followers to
fan
fund
base.
your fan base to fund your project. Let's say you're trying to put an album together, you were signed to a major label, and now you're going independent. What's happening now is this trend where artists are using their fan base to say, hey, donate to the cause. And what they're doing is setting up tiers so that the more you donate, the more that they give back to you. That's what the tier approach is. So let's say for $10, you get the autographed copy of the project. For $100, you get the project and the vinyl and the t-shirt and a concert ticket or something. Maybe for $2,000, the artist might come to your house or something. Depending on how far you're willing to go. These things have become very popular, but not without some controversy. So let's break this down a little bit. So I was loving the fact, I was reading in Billboard magazine that De La Soul, you like any
yes.
De La Soul? Yeah, I love De La Soul. I was a big fan ever since their first album. That was like all that hippie cover. It was called 3 Feet High and Rising.
Now, they were a big group in the 80s, correct?
Yeah, 80s and into the 90s. They were part of Native Tongues. So they were down with like Jungle Brothers, Queen Latifah, Moni Love, and all this has came out from this area, Tribe Called Quest. So this sort of sound, this group was about, De La Soul. Anyway, fast forward time, they went through their major label deals. They were signed to Tommy Boy for a long time. And now, in 2014 or 2015, they started a GoFundMe to ask their fans to fund their upcoming project. They hadn't done a studio album in years. And so De La Soul went to their fans to say, can you guys donate to the cause? And they applied a tier approach to it. So the more you donated, the more you got in return. Now, they weren't the first out of the gate. I mean, this has been happening for a while.
Exactly, TLC.
Yes, you remember TLC.
TLC.
But they got into some drama because what happened was, I don't know the figures right now, but let's say it was $100,000 that they were trying to raise. That was the goal. Well, in TLC's case, let's say, they met their goal and then some.
Exceeded.
And the same with De La Soul. They too met their goal and then some. So now it became a few things. Number one, it became about the follow-through. What do I mean? Well, now that you've committed yourself to these promises to your fans, now that you've met your goal and beyond, what's the plan to implement that? So in TLC's case, the first order of business was to record and complete the project. Well, evidently we are still waiting for this full project. It hasn't come through. It's been years and years. And so fans have become really disgruntled over time, if you can imagine. Let me ask you something. Who's your favorite artist, major artist right now?
For me?
Yeah, living. Favorite artist living. It doesn't matter from what time period.
Well, I'm Shirley Bassey's fan.
Okay, so let's say Shirley Bassey decides, look, I haven't performed in Newark, New Jersey in 40 years, okay? I want to hold a one-night-only affair, but I'm leaving it up to you, the fans, to pay for, ahead of time, entry into this show and then some, so that I could pay me, Shirley Bassey.
To cover her costs.
Yeah, cover my cost and the venue and then some, so I can make my coin. Now, this is your favorite artist. So you get your coin together and you pay whatever that fee is, right? Now you're waiting for this date to come around so that you can go and get your life with your favorite artist at this venue that she hasn't performed at. But let's say that date comes and goes after you've already paid it. She's maybe haphazardly gave you an explanation as to why it was delayed in some way, but then leaves it open-ended. And you are still waiting for you to redeem
My
it.
show, yes.
That happened to me even
Or
recently.
my refund.
Right. I'm a big Janet Jackson fan. I've seen nearly every tour except for one.
Mm-hmm.
And I got tickets for her latest tour because I loved her latest album. And she announced quite abruptly that she was halting her tour plans after all those shows had already been sold out, to say that she was planning for her family. So what occurred is she realized she could get pregnant or got pregnant as she was planning this, and decided to leave it open-ended. So our money has not been returned to us, right? But I'm waiting for Janet to either have her baby or do what she needs to do so that she can get back on the road so I can get my life with Janet. Like you in this scenario we're talking about with Shirley Bassey.
You want to follow through.
The follow-through is the point here. So in the case with TLC, the fans are really disgruntled because they haven't fully delivered the product like they said. On the other side, De La Soul has definitely delivered, and they're now cracking the charts, and they might be #1 on the hip-hop charts on Billboard. So it talks about this amazing ability to harness your fan base in a way that funds your cause. Well, now things are getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and now if you think about it, it kind of opens up a Pandora's box, if you will, of possibilities.
But
if you're a major artist,
TLC is performing locally in the United States, in Jersey, in Montclair, so we may get an introduction. This may be the night that they introduce their new album.
Oh, that's a really good point. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the new ways that our artists are looking to capitalize on the fans that they have. We'll break it down. Where?
91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan.
Freedom Radio Hour, y'all.
Freedom Radio Hour. Live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM.
What up, beautiful people, and welcome back. I'm Eddie Nicholas, and we're so glad that you have joined us again on 91.6 FM Freedom Radio Hour, the Heartbeat of Sudan. I'm sitting up here with my co-host, the one and only Mr.
Adam Cruz, and we're live and direct right now on the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your #1 source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. We're also on the web at dwobmusicradio.com. Before we broke, we were talking about the new and inventive ways that artists are using their fan base to basically ask folks for money, and in return, they are delivering new albums in an autonomous, independent way away from the major labels. And that seems to be the wave of the future for now, that some of these artists that are able to galvanize, they're able to get forward and make a sort of a path forward for themselves. There's been some issues though, because like we were talking about, if you're a major artist and you have this tiered approach, which means that the more you donate, the more you're entitled to. So let's say for a lower end donation, you might get an autograph, or a higher end donation, you might get an appearance or some sort of voice message or something like that. Anyway, in this exercise, we've discovered that if you're going to go the independent route, meaning using like a GoFundMe or an Indiegogo to raise funds for your album, be sure to understand what you're getting yourself into. Because oftentimes these artists, namely we talked about TLC and now De La Soul, TLC has raised above and beyond their goal of what they put up. But they now had a problem because they weren't able to return the product the way that they had promised back to the fans that purchased that through their donations. So that's a big problem. We did realize that they're performing in the area coming up, TLC. So we'll be able to report back as to whether they'll introduce new products. So we'll see.
Now, I'm questioning one quick thing. When we're talking about the GoFundMe pages and those, I know that is for funding and all of that type of stuff, but how is that? Well, there is an obvious difference. I was going to say from the Reverb Nations, where it's independent artists, you put up your stuff and you basically get the monies directly funneled to you.
Yes, and yes, it's exactly. There's Kickstarter, Indiegogo, GoFundMe, and they all have some differences. Some of the differences include that if you don't meet the goal by a certain time, or if you don't meet the goal at all, it will be returned back to all of the donators.
The donators, okay.
Okay, so there's that. There's also the there's also that if you do meet the goal by a certain time, let's say sooner than you thought, there's some incentive around that too. So there's commitments and there's rewards depending on how quickly you're able to raise the funds. And then what you promise really is the point of this. What you promise, you have to deliver. So that for De La Soul, it seems to have worked because they too used the GoFundMe to ask fans to donate because they hadn't been in the studio for a long time and they wanted to produce a new album. The goal was met above and beyond, and now they've released their project totally independently, and they're now
like
the
you
number
said, on R&B chart, number one.
Yeah, number one on the hip hop charts on
hip-hop.
on Billboard. So that's a really good look. And the album includes cameos from Snoop Dogg, Jill Scott, and the list goes on and on of heavy hitters, people that are really
Well, you know,
fans
I've
of theirs.
always seen them as, you know, part of that little group of hip hop neo soul folks.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, so it's not that much of a jump. I agree with that point. But moving ahead, what we notice now is that artists are using not just crowdfunding, but other means for trying to raise capital. In the case of Nelly, Nelly is not responsible for this. Let me preface this correctly. But when Nelly, the rapper whose record Hot in Here was like the biggest record of his
We're
career.
getting hot in here.
So what? So that's the record.
One of the
So-
few records I liked by him.
Yes. So his that came from his album Nellyville, and that album made him a lot of money. Well, unfortunately, Nelly has run into some problems with his taxes, and the IRS has evidently placed a tax lien on him for the tune of $2 million in back taxes. Now, Nelly is not asking for the following, what I'm about to share, but it's very interesting that this has happened. Spin Magazine, and realizing this story about Nelly having to pay this $2 million in back taxes, decided to start a hashtag on social media. If you put that $, the $,
Will take you directly to.
it'll take you directly to what they're talking about online. In this case, the Spin Magazine created a hashtag Save Nelly. And what they were doing is they're applying a method that we often talk about here on the Freedom Radio Hour about streaming. And in short, every time you play an Adam Cruz song or an Eddie Nicholas song, we are paid a fraction of a penny per stream. Every time you stream it on, say, Spotify or these other sites, right? So what I noticed is you have to have millions of streams in order to make any sort of decent pay. So we've covered this at length with the problems regarding streaming and the amount that it pays out to these artists. So what Spin Magazine is doing is using the streaming income as a way to see if they can't help Nelly out. So using this hashtag Save Nelly, they're asking people to stream Hot in Here all over the world. And they're figuring that the more it streams, the more there'll be a bigger chance he'll earn a large check so that he could pay off this tax lien. It's sort of a giving back. This is a fan trying to help out his or her favorite artist, right? So what's happened now is they figured out the math, and what they have to do is basically stream it to about 300 million times in order for him to make $2 million from they're using Spotify as a streaming service.
And you know, because I was getting ready to ask, you know, what's that boy's name? Happy song.
Pharrell Williams.
Pharrell Williams. His Happy song. That was streamed millions of times. And I think he got, under $20,000?
Yeah, it was like $9,600 or something. Yeah. That was through YouTube, right? That was through YouTube.
Which was the biggest.
Oh my God, that was crazy. But now what's happened is you basically have them trying to see what they can do to manipulate the streaming system to then garner a lot of money or centralized on one song. But that's kind of powerful. Think about this. So you get your fans, they use the hashtag, they stream the song Hot in Here on a streaming service over and over again, and boom, you get a check for this $2 million over time. We'll have to see what happens with this story. I just want to again remind everyone that Nelly has not authorized this. He's flattered by it. He's already made arrangements to pay back the back taxes to the IRS. So with or without this help from Spin Magazine, Nelly has made his arrangements.
But you know, that's what it's all about. You know, a fan base that is willing to invest. And that's what it's called. As a fan, we're investing in the artists that we appreciate and that we like. So if you are heavily that invested with so many people, as with the case of De La Soul, they will invest their money because they foresee a good finished product that they will have in their hands.
Well, you open up a great discussion that we'll have.
And
Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk further with Eddie about this. And I also have a different spin on this that I think it might be worth listening to. Check us out when we come back. Where?
91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan, freedomradiohour.com, y'all.
Freedom Radio Hour.
And we're back live on Capital Radio 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan. You're deep, deep in the zone right here at the Freedom Radio Hour. We're your #1 source for music, business news, and trends from around the globe. Before we broke, we were talking to our brother Eddie here about the latest regarding rapper Nelly. In short, Nelly has to pay back $2 million in taxes. Now, Nelly hasn't suggested this, but Spin Magazine, a publication, has. They want to figure out a way that they can pay this $2 million back on Nelly's behalf. And what they're going to do is they're trying to get his fans to stream his biggest hit, Hot in Here, over 300 million, 400 million times to then garner sort of as close to $2 million as they can get, depending on these streams. So we were talking about the power that fans have and helping to bring up or bring back to the forefront their favorite artists. In the case of De La Soul, they hadn't had a studio album in years. And now, through the help of their fans paying in the form of donations, they have been able to basically crowdfund their album. There's pluses and minuses. Now, you were talking about Nelly and how this can help. So let's talk about this a little more. I had a different spin on this. On the one side, I think it's great that you can use the power of your fans, whether you personally do that or someone else, like a Spin Magazine, does it on your behalf, to help you in some way, fiscally speaking, by, in this case, by streaming a song over and over and over again. My problem is this. I'm putting faith in you, Nelly. I'm putting faith in you, TLC. I'm putting faith in you, De La Soul. When I donate to you, or I'm streaming, or I'm taking that call to action, I'm taking faith that you're going to do what that money is supposed to do. In the case of De La Soul, the proof is in the pudding. The project is out. All of those that donated received the project, and it's now on the Billboard charts. It's #1 on hip hop. So that's a good example of using your fans for good.
And you know, and most importantly, the fan has been a part of that project.
Exactly, and they feel very attached to it. On the other side, you have a TLC and others like it. It's not just TLC. I don't mean to target them, but it's the point that there are those that use these crowdfunding tools and don't either meet the match and don't fulfill their obligations to their fans, or they take a long time. Even in house music, we have a producer that met his goal for his crowdfunding tool, and we're still waiting for his project to come out. So I'm wondering if that's just a production delay or that's something more. So the blind faith is kind of difficult because time's a ticking. So if I donated 3 years ago and I'm still waiting on your album, or in the case of Nelly, I understand that you have a $2 million back taxes. I'm with your comment off camera, which was, where are these people's accountants? Where are these people's managers, fiscal managers, to help avoid the fact that everybody and their mama knows you have to pay your taxes? Those are the one of two certainties in life, right? Death and taxes. So listen, I wanted to talk about that for now. When we come back on our next episode, we are going to talk about the politics behind going to #1.
Yes.
This is a topic that has been curated by our brother Eddie, and we've come together to research this more. So on one of our future episodes, we'll be discussing the politics behind going #1, and then what happens when you're a voting member of the Grammys. What is that process like? And we're going to talk about the connections between process and politics. It's a very interesting quagmire that we're
Because
kind of
sometimes they make very good social part, either good or disastrous.
or strange bedfellows.
Strange bedfellows, yes.
Yes. So that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for tuning into the Freedom Radio Hour. As we've been mentioning before, if you're a music producer, a DJ, a singer, a songwriter, or just a music enthusiast, Freedom Radio Hour is here, and it's just for you. We're here bringing you music, business news, and trends from around the globe, and also fantastic music. With that said, make sure you check out EddieNicholas.com. His latest You Left Me remixes are available now. And your boy, DJ Adam Cruz, with the Freedom LP, available everywhere. Search me out, DJAdamCruz.com. Thanks for listening. We're on Capital Radio 91.6 FM and on the web at DWABMusicRadio.com.
Peace out now. Y'all come on back now here. 91.6 FM, the Heartbeat of Sudan.
I didn't know you were going to do it.
FreedomRadioHour.com. Much love.
Peace.